Hi, my name is Rachel Cantor and I'm the Executive Director of Mississippi First. And this is the first of several videos I'm going to be making this legislative session to try to explain the process to ordinary Mississippians. The legislature is one of the most interesting and asked about things that we follow here at Mississippi First. And as a 501c3 nonprofit, we do a very small amount of lobbying on education causes that we care about. However, what we've noticed is that many ordinary Mississippians don't truly understand the process of what goes on at the state capitol. So we've decided that I'm going to be doing these short selfie video blogs to try to explain a little bit about that legislative process. Let me first start with some basic facts. So our legislature convened yesterday for the first day of the 2017 legislative session. Now, this is the second year in this legislative term. A legislative term in Mississippi is 4 years. Both our senators and our representatives are elected for 4-year terms on the same cycle as our governor and our lieutenant governor and our other statewide offices. In Mississippi, we elect those folks in the year before a presidential election, which means that our last election for those folks was November of 2015. So the first year in the legislative term was 2016, and we're now in 2017. So this is the second year of the term. Most legislative sessions are 90-day sessions. So 2017 will be a 90-day session. 2016, because it was the first year in a legislative term, was a 120-day session. But we are now in a 90-day session, which is much more usual for the Mississippi Legislature. The second thing that you should know is that the Mississippi Legislature operates on the basis of a calendar. So unlike some other legislatures in the country, Mississippi does everything on the basis of a calendar. So we have deadlines for when bills can be introduced, when bills must be debated by committees, when bills must pass the floors so that they can continue to stay alive and stay part of debate. So the first deadline that we have will be next week, and that deadline will be the deadline for bills to be drafted, for requests for bills to be drafted. So contrary to what many of you might think, legislators typically don't write the bills. Typically, they request bills be drafted by the lawyers who work in the bill drafting offices in the Capitol. So there are lawyers who work for every committee and work for the legislature, whose job it is to take requests from legislators. So a legislator might have an idea like, I want every public school in Mississippi to have a picture of George Washington in the hallway when you first walk in. And say he wants to call this the Founding Fathers Bill. So he would say to a bill drafter, he would write on a form, which is incidentally blue, that he wants this bill to be drafted, the Founding Fathers Day bill, and he wants to say that George Washington should be hung in the hallway of every public school in Mississippi. And the bill drafter would take that request, they would look through all the state codes, they would write up bill language, and then they would give a copy of that request, that drafted language, to the legislator to approve or not. And that legislator, if they are satisfied with the bill, would then introduce the bill or drop the bill, as some people might say. So file the bill to be debated, to be assigned to committee and debated. So that is the first deadline for requests for bills to be drafted. Now, bills are sometimes drafted by legislators themselves, and sometimes they are drafted by advocacy organizations or other experts who might have language about a specific topic that they want the legislature to debate and to pass a law for. And so they might have model language that they would turn into a legislator who would then turn it in to the bill drafting office. Because even if the language is actually written by the legislator or someone else, or even a constituent, it still goes through the bill drafting office to be formatted in the proper format. So that's what the first deadline is. And that deadline is very important because most bills, like I said, are drafted through that office, which means those lawyers are very busy. And once that deadline passes, then it's only another couple of days before the first deadline for bills to be introduced. So once the bills are drafted, they have to be introduced. So a lawyer or a legislator could ask for a bill to be drafted and then decide that it's a bad idea, or he or she doesn't want to pursue it, and would get rid of that bill, would not introduce the bill. But the second deadline on the calendar is always the deadline for introduction of bills. So one of the things that you're going to be hearing a lot is from the media is about different bills that have been introduced. So they've been drafted and the legislator who requested it decided that they wanted to introduce that bill. So the bill is filed and then uploaded to the legislative system. And then we all get to read about all of the ideas that legislators have for the use of our tax dollars in the next year or several years. The bills that are introduced, they all go online. You can go on to the Mississippi Legislature website and read them all. But once that deadline passes and all those bills are introduced, that gives us a sense of the universe of bills that may be passed for the session. Now, there are a variety of ways that the legislature can introduce new concepts throughout the legislative session, including by suspending the rules. But typically, everything that is going to be debated in a year has been introduced by that second deadline, which this year is January 16th. That's the deadline for introduction of bills, general bills. So I hope that you will be listening to the news media as they report, and that you'll be following along with us as we also watch to see what bills are introduced to the legislature by the legislators in the legislature this year. And we will be back with another short video of commentary to explain the bills that we think are most interesting to us and likely to have the largest impact on education in Mississippi. Thank you.